Good morning, everybody. It's about 4 a.m. and we got woken up by our high bilge alarm.
Welcome to another episode of what feels like this old Hatteras. Imagine you're sound asleep and dreaming of exotic boating destinations and having a fat wallet so you can afford to have qualified professionals take care of your every maintenance need.
Suddenly, you're jarred awake by a blaring alarm coming from somewhere. We jumped out of bed to find the high water bilge alarm is all lit up at the helm.
In this episode, we're going to share our lessons learned about the Hatteras Yacht Safety Center. I'm Troy.
I'm Daria, and we own a 1979 58-foot Hatteras long-range cruiser. So welcome aboard to Motor Yacht Wet Pleasures.
Let's talk about this Hatteras Yacht Safety Center. We hope that our lessons learned will shorten your learning curve, or for those of you who already know, you can just have a laugh at what morons we are. At our pilot house helm and flybridge, we have a safety panel, what Hatteras calls their Yacht Safety Center. It has an audible alarm and indicator lights for engine water temperature, oil pressure, AC off, fire, transmission, auxiliary alarms, and finally the bane of our existence.
Yeah, the high water bilge alarm.
Anyhow, so a few months back, and of course it's in the middle of the night, an alarm goes off and we find it's the high water bilge alarm.
So our boat has 6 bilge compartments with 6 separate pumps and high water alarms. We have 1 in the V berth. We have 2 on the forward port and starboard sides. Then we have 2 in the engine room on each side. And we have 1 that is in our master cabin just underneath the bed.
So of course we're going one by one, pulling up all the hatches, inspecting each one, and no water to speak of. No reason the alarm should be going off. We go reset the alarm, think nothing of it, and everything seems to be good. Back to bed and back to sleep. Well, a couple of nights later, the alarm goes off again. This goes on for a while, every couple of days, but randomly. And of course, each time we're checking the bilge compartments for at least the first week or so, but then we basically give up. Because nothing ever seems to be out of the ordinary. And then it stops for a few weeks. Just when we think the gremlins have left, a new symptom appears. We'd flush the day head and trigger the alarm. For those of you non-boaters and for some ungodly reason are watching this video, marine toilets typically have an electric flush motor.
And this was really getting ridiculous.
So I consult the Google and YouTube gods, and I'm not really getting any answers. I'm at a loss. My best guess is that there's some sort of grounding issue that's causing the alarm to go off. A couple more weeks go by and I'm in the engine room and I notice I've got another safety panel down here of sorts. It's different from the rest, and I think the previous owner, who was an electrical engineer, built and designed this puppy. If I'm reading the blinking lights correctly, it's trying to tell me that the alarm is in the master stateroom. Somehow he designed the panel to give a specific location that was triggering the alarm. Sure enough, I test that specific high water switch and it's bad. I do a little research, learn the switch is a normally closed switch, and what that means is that when the water level is below the switch, electricity in the circuit can flow through the switch. And water rises too high and activates the switch, electricity is prevented from flowing through the circuit, and the alarm is activated. Well, we happily have a switch in our parts inventory. This part is a sump bobber and can either be set up in a normally open or normally closed position. So here I'm just verifying that the switch is set up as a normally closed switch, so electricity flows when the float is in the down position. By reversing or taking the C-clip off the end and reversing the float, you can make it a normally open switch. But here, I'm moving it up, and the circuit opens up. So I go put the new one on. I did make one change though. The original switch was located up on the top of the bulkhead about 12 inches up.
Yeah, that was way too high. We would want it to be down lower so we know when the problem's happening and we're not totally flooded in that compartment.
Yeah, so I moved the switch to the body of the bilge pump just above the level of the float switch. Problem solved. Everything was back to working fine.
Until about several months later, and we are on my bucket list to go to the dry Tortugas. And as we're heading there, we're at anchor at Miami Stadium, and we're sleeping. Of course, it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning, and what do you know? The alarm goes off.
Yeah. We jump out of bed,
Oh my God.
because we're at anchor. I'm trying to run up the stairs, but my legs aren't working. I get up to the safety center, and what do you know? It's the high water bilge alarm again.
Really?
Really?
Really. Good morning, everybody. It's about 4 a.m. and we got woken up by our high bilge alarm.
Yeah. Well, Daria starts pulling up the bilge access panels, and I go to the engine room to see what the monitor there says. And of course, it's the high water alarm in the master stateroom.
And just to be safe, and I still checked all of the other bilge locations to confirm that they're dry.
Yeah, so what do we find underneath the bed in the master stateroom? There's about 4 or 5 inches of standing water.
Yeah, we get about, 4 inches of standing water in the bilge of our aft cabin. As you can see, the pump float switch is up. What I want you to do is go up to the helm and manually activate the bilge and see if bilge pump, see if it comes on.
The float switch is stuck in the up position. Well, not stuck, but it's in the up position, but the pump's not running.
I got up to the helm right away and manually activated the bilge pump.
It's running. And after about 20 or 30 seconds later, the water's all pumped out.
All right, so Troy told me that I could shut it off. I released from the aft bilge here, and our safety center stopped beeping. So let's go back downstairs and see what is going on.
Thank God. I'm glad I lowered the height of the alarm switch. We only had about 10 gallons of water in the bilge and not 50 or 100.
Yeah.
So yeah, she turned on the manual pump switch and pump turned right on, so nothing wrong with the pump. I'm guessing it's the manual bilge, or the automatic float switch took a shit. We had that happen into one of the other bilges about a year ago. All right, no disaster here then. All right, let's get back to sleep.
Yeah.
We luckily fall back asleep, and after breakfast, we check our inventory of parts and locate the new bilge switch.
So I offered to install it. The wires are too short for me to try to make it to this. These wires, because it ends right here, are too short to make it to this.
Okay, well then.
The bilge pump is all done. And all right.
All done?
All done.
You got the screw down?
I got the screw down.
All right.
All right. He's so lucky he doesn't just have a pretty face, but someone with skills. And besides, his big ass would not fit easily into that bilge. So I did the wiring.
As we're traveling with another boat and agreed on a time to get underway, Dari being able to finish up the wiring and the new float switch allowed me to get all our pre-departure checks done, and we could leave on time. Anyhow, ultimately it was a simple fix, but I hope that something we shared here helps the next person find the solution quicker.
Yeah, so please remember to like and subscribe, but more importantly, remember to stay wet.